Now, the definition of agricultural science and agriculture. Agricultural science is a broad, multidisciplinary field that encompasses the natural, economic, and social sciences that are used in the practice and understanding of agriculture. So basically, what you should gather from this definition is that agricultural science is broader than agriculture. Agriculture is the rearing of animals and the growing of plants to satisfy human needs and wants through the use of scientific knowledge and principles. Agriculture places emphasis on 6 branches, namely agronomy, horticulture, animal science, agriculture engineering, agriculture economics, and fishery. So here you see where agriculture is basically focused on the 6 branches, right? And it focuses on plants and animals in particularly. So of course agriculture is a part, or it is a part of the field of agricultural science. Alright, so let us get into the history of agriculture. However, we're going to look at the history in 3 eras: the pre-colonial times, the colonial times, and the post-colonial times. Alright, so let's get into it. History of agriculture in pre-colonial times in the Caribbean. Number 1, agriculture was primitive and basically on a survival level. Alright, number 2, people cultivated the land just to get enough food to stay alive. Alright, so that is referred to as subsistent farming. Number 3, tools and technology were very simple, such as digging sticks, stone tools, bow and arrows, spears, etc. Number 4, foods produced were corn, cassava, sheep, etc. Number 5, farming methods practiced were slash and burn, shifting cultivation, etc. So in that era, there weren't a lot of studies, as you know, with today's era. There's not a lot of technology or studies. Alright, so agriculture back then were very simple and the tools were very simple and it was subsistent. Alright, so let's move to the colonial times. Alright, so history of agriculture in colonial times in the Caribbean. So number 1, agriculture was done on a large scale commercially. That means it was done for money, to make a profit. So those goods were sold. Alright. Number 2, conventional farming methods were practiced whereby a large area of land was cultivated and native plants and habitats destroyed. Let us go to point number 3. One type of crop was planted in large amounts, and that is referred to as monoculture, such as sugarcane, banana, etc. So an example of the conventional farming method is monoculture. That is where one type of crop is planted on a large area of land. So you find out that large amount of lands are used, the land is plowed, a lot of soil organisms are destroyed, a lot of plants are destroyed, etc. Number 4, large labor force, manual, and simple tools were used, for example, mills, machetes, hoes, axe, etc. Alright, so the labor force was mainly manual, even though there were some form of technology. The technology was not used as much as the manual labor. As you know, the slaves, they provide most of the labor, and so a lot of the work was done by them. Let us move to history in the post-colonial times. So, history of agriculture in post-colonial times in the Caribbean. Number 1, farming was both subsistent and commercial. Very important, both subsistent and commercial. So immediately after slavery, persons would have to find food on their own. So some immediately go into farming just to provide enough food for themselves. But they also learned that agriculture can be done on a commercial basis. So some of them also went and farmed enough and sold some of those surplus. Number two, farming methods used were mixed farming, mixed cropping, intercropping, contour farming, which is the hillside farming, strip cropping, etc. So what you realize is that persons now started to move from monoculture and they start to take on different types of farming or different farming methods. Number three, non-conventional farming methods. The use of little land space and more airspace started to be practiced, especially on the commercial level, such as greenhouse technology, container farming, vertical farming, etc. So you can see where agriculture is moved from the conventional method to the non-conventional methods. And in short, what that is saying is that more technology is used to do farming and a lot of land space is not used with these methods. So you have persons doing farming in their homes, actually in their homes, on their buildings, on their veranda, in greenhouses. They are doing vertical farming in these greenhouses. They are doing their aquaponics or hydroponics in their houses, in buildings. And what you find out is that a lot of the biodiversities, the different plants and animals are not destroyed. Also, these type of methods would try to use less chemicals, and so you have a safer environment. So that is where we are now in agriculture. Number four, technology is advanced. Example, tractors, bulldozers, computers, greenhouses, hydroponics, pumps, and drip irrigation systems, etc. So we have a lot of technology now that is used to do our farming now. Alright, so the topic here is conventional versus non-conventional farming methods. So we're basically going to look at the definition of both and examples of both. Alright, so let's start with the conventional farming methods, and as you know, those are old-time methods that were used in the colonial times. Conventional farming refers to farming methods which are designed to produce large quantities of food to be sold for profit. An example of conventional farming is monoculture. And as you know, mono means one, which means the planting of one type of crop on the land, large areas of land. Second point, it involves large usage of machinery and chemicals. The third point, it involves the usage of large amount of land space and plowing of the land. Right? And number four, the fourth point, it results in the destruction of plants, habitats, and caused pollution. Alright, so as you can see, the conventional farming methods, they are old and they destroy the environment, especially the land and the plants and animals. In other words, they destroy biodiversity. Alright? So let's move to the non-conventional farming methods. The non-conventional farming methods. Non-conventional farming system involves farming techniques that focuses on preserving the environment and land structure by using less land space, more technology, and more air space. So, as you can see from this definition, these farming methods would use less land space, less chemical, hence they are biodiversity friendly. Alright, so some of these farming methods are, so we have 10 of them. Number one, organic farming, 2, hydroponics, 3, growth boxes, 4, urban farming, 5, peri-urban farming, 6, greenhouse technology, 7, aquaponics, 8, the nutrient film technique, 9, fraud culture, 10, containerized farming. So each of them will be explained in details, diagrams are provided. So keep watching. Alright, so let's start with organic farming. So this is number one. Organic farming involves mainly the use of plants and animal-based chemicals to produce, basically limits or lessen the use of inorganic chemicals to reduce. Alright, so in short, organic farming here basically excludes the use of inorganic chemicals. Alright, some examples of chemicals that you might be wondering about. We're talking about like fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, plant growth regulators, and animal feed additives. So these chemicals, those that are inorganic, organic farming tend to move away from those chemicals. Alright. Principles of organic farming. So as I said, there are certain practices that are followed when carrying out organic farming. So these are the principles. I have 6 of them here. So number 1, organic farms must be certified. Alright? So if you're an organic farmer, the farm must be certified by the government. Because farmers will tend to say they are organic, they will sell their crops very expensive because they are organic, and that might not be so. So in order to operate an organic farm, it should be certified. And for a farm to be certified as organic, it has a time period of 3 years. It should be practiced for at least 3 years to make sure the crops are organic. Alright? So number 2, crop rotation in practice is practiced to maintain soil fertility and control insects. Number 3, biological pest control is practiced. For example, ladybird beetles eating aphids, wasps eating caterpillars. So with this type of control, one animal is used to control the other. So biological. Living things are used to control living things. Alright? Number 4, it does not use toxic substances. So chemicals that are poisonous to the environment, we try to use less of them. Number 5, manure and compost are preferred fertilizers. So of course, you have the inorganic fertilizers such as your NPK, your 2020. Now when you're operating an organic farm, you try to move away from those chemicals and focus on the chicken manure, the rabbit manure, the cow dung, your compost, etc. Number 6, promotes biodiversity. So organic farming would try to keep more plants and animals alive. They will try to use less chemicals that would kill the insects and pests. And they use more natural control. So you would have a variety of animals and plants in this type of farm or on this type of farm. Alright, so let us move into detail with crop rotation. Alright, so this is a part of the organic farming. This is one method that is used, and it is said that this method is used to control both pests and also to maintain nutrients in the soil. So let us get in depth with this method. Crop rotation. Crop rotation is the cultivation of selected crops on the same plot of land, one after the other, after each have been harvested. Alright? Crops can be selected based on characteristics such as if the crop, number 1, crops are deep-rooted or shallow-rooted. Number 2, crops are fruit crops such as your tomato, seed crops such as your bean, leaf crops such as your cabbage, and root crop such as beetroot. So what this is saying is that crops are selected to be planted on a piece of land based on their parts, based on certain parts. Hydroponics is the practice of growing plants in nutrient solutions without the use of soil. Instead of the soil, the plants may be rooted in small amounts of peat, sand, or rock wool. Alright, so it is basically growing plants in liquid, a nutrient solution, which is liquid. The liquid would be moving water, or it can be still water hydroponics. Is aquaponics. Now, the aquaponics, this involves the rearing of aquatic animals along with a hydroponics system. Alright, so aquaponics here means water. Alright, so we're talking about animals that live in water, such as your crayfish, your fish, etc. Alright, so key points with the aquaponics system. Number 1, nutrients from the plants are supplied by the waste from the fish, the aquatic animals, alright? So the nutrients come from the fish. Number 2, it is organic farming. No inorganic fertilizers is added to this system. Very important. Number 3, the raw waste from the aquatic animals, fish, can be applied immediately to the plants because it produces its own fungi that breaks down the waste and make it safe. Unlike raw chicken manure, has to be broken down for 9 months before use because it contains salmonella and E. coli bacteria that can be transferred to us via the plants. So what this is saying is that with this type of farming, the waste from the fish can be used immediately on the plants to fertilize the plants. And unlike chicken waste, you do not use the raw chicken waste on your plants. You will allow that waste to be broken down for 9 months because the salmonella and E. coli bacteria that can be contracted by humans, they are present in the raw chicken waste, and it is not safe to use the raw chicken waste on the plants immediately. Alright? But with the aquatic animals waste, you can use that waste immediately on the plants because it produces its own fungi that break down those harmful bacteria. Alright, point number 4, aquaponic system can be done indoor. Alright, so it can be done indoor, it uses less land space, and it can be done vertically. Alright, growth boxes. Grow boxes, this is an enclosed structure that is used to grow the plants in. It normally consists of an irrigation system, a light, and a ventilation system. Broad culture involves growing crops in shallow bins, 15 to 20 centimeter deep and 60 to 70 centimeter wide. Alright? So the trod culture, the trods are basically some bins that are made. You can make them out of wood, plastic, concrete, etc. Alright, trods can be filled with an inert soilless medium such as rock wool and are connected to a drip system which supplies water and nutrients in solution. So after you make those trods, you can put your soil in it and you can add an irrigation system to it. So let's take urban and peri-urban farming. So as you know, this is the cultivation of small areas of land, usually less than 2 acres, in or near cities, towns and villages, and on buildings. So you can farm close to those buildings or even on those buildings. Containerized gardening. Alright, very important for persons living in the cities, for those persons who want to take farming closer to them, closer to their home. This is a very suitable method. Alright, so containerized gardening is the cultivation of crops in any available container, such as drum, bottles, etc. Any available container. Alright. Greenhouse technology is a building structure primarily made of glass or sheets or clear plastic in which temperature and humidity can be controlled for the cultivation or protection of plants. So the greenhouse is basically a building, alright?